Welcome to those of you who've come in person as the men who are due to be ordained, ex-John, ex-Mark and ex-Don, the guests who join us in person. And welcome to those of you who are joining us online. You're joining a retreat. Last Friday, in the course of which private ordinations took place. And today we'll have the public ordinations. Everything is building up to this point. This is the point at which these men join the order. This is the culmination of so much, not just this retreat, but so much of their lives, that have enabled them to be able to do this. So it's a real opportunity for us to witness their going for refuge, and celebrate it. So in a minute I will I'll go outside and I will collect the preceptors and the men who have been ordained, and we'll begin, and that's the point at which we'll salute the shrine. So prepare yourselves, prepare the space, prepare the atmosphere, and I will go and get them in.
especially if you feel it's your first time, or if this is your first time as a Buddhist event. And I know some of you travel quite a long way to get here. And welcome to all those joining us online as well. So we're here for a public ordination ceremony to witness Don Young, Mark Chip, and John Briley commit themselves formally and ritually to the Buddhist path. And this is a process that's been going on for some years. And the public ordination represents the completion of that process. And it also represents an initiation into a new life, a new beginning as a committed Buddhist. And so it's a very significant day for Donnie, Mark, and John. And the ordination ceremony is in two parts, private ordination and a public ordination. And we've been on retreat here for about eight or 9 days, and we've been meditating a lot in silence and really creating the atmosphere for the ordinations to take place in. And on last Wednesday night, Donnie and John had their private ordinations. Mark had already had his private ordination in Sheffield. And the private ordination represents them being prepared to go it alone as individuals, even if they were the only people in the world wanting to make that commitment. So they left the shrine room here and they went forth alone into the night, and they followed a light path to the ordination kuti, the place where the ordinations, the private ordinations, were taking place. And there they met with their private preceptor, and they made that personal commitment, and they received a new name, a new Buddhist name, which has been a secret between them and their private preceptor, and it's only going to be revealed today at the public ordination ceremony. So today is the public ordination, and both parts of the ordination ceremony, the private and the public, are equally important. And this represents, the public ordination represents the fact that although they're prepared to go alone as individuals, happily, they don't have to do it alone. They're becoming part of a spiritual community of other committed individuals who share their values and ideals. So it's a bit like they just opened their eyes and found themselves surrounded by other men and women who are treading the path with them, sharing their ideals. And today they're going to become members of the Western Buddhist, of the Triratna Buddhist order. And it's only really today that they'll be fully ordained. Up until this point, they've been half ordained, but today they've become fully ordained. And we can really rejoice in that, and we can rejoice in taking that step. So I'm not quite sure how many order members there are now throughout the world. It's a worldwide organization. But I think there's about 3,000 order members worldwide, and quite a lot of those are in India. So what does it mean to commit oneself to the Buddhist path? And traditionally, we speak of going for refuge to the three jewels, the three jewels being the three most precious things for a Buddhist. And they're refuges because from a Buddhist point of view, they're the only safe ground, the only safe foundation, secure foundation on which to build a life. So very briefly, what are the three jewels or the three refuges? First of all, the first jewel is the Buddha, and the Buddha is a human being. He started off as a human being, and through his own efforts, he penetrated to the very heart of things. He saw things as they really are, and he rediscovered the path to human enlightenment, a state of being free of all negative emotions, such as greed, hatred, and delusion, and with a plenitude of wisdom and compassion and boundless creativity. And this reminds me of our own teacher, again, Sangharakshita, saying that if you found the term enlightenment difficult, just think of more life. Think of enlightenment as more life. So being more fully alive. And this is what they've committed themselves to. And this potential for Buddhahood It's there in all of us. And a Buddhist is a person who devotes himself to realizing that truth that the Buddha himself discovered, to realizing it in his own life, whatever lifestyle he pursues. So the Dharma is the second jewel, and first of all, it means truth or reality, but it also means the teaching of the Buddha. All the teachings and practices that have come out of the Buddha's enlightened experience, which enable one to progress step by step, transforming oneself from an unenlightened being to an enlightened being. The third jewel is the Sangha, or the spiritual community. And it's a community of all those who have trod the path and realized the goal. But in a broader sense, it's all those who are practicing the Buddha's teaching. And in committing themselves to the Sangha, which means spiritual community, it means actually helping to create Sangha in a context of friendship, understanding, love, and welcoming people to the Sangha and helping them to live by Buddhist values. So these three jewels for us are the deepest human values, which we seek to put into practice whatever our lifestyle, whether we're living in a family, whether we're living in a traditional way in a Buddhist community and so on, whether we're living alone, whether we're teaching in centres or working in the world. Those are the values that Order members are trying to put into practice. And they're trying to do that in harmony and friendship with each other. So although the ordination is very significant, in some ways it's perhaps the most significant day of their lives, it's only a beginning. And for Donnie, Mark and John, they'll be continuing to put into practice what has been activated, a seed that's been activated in the ordination during the two ordination ceremonies. On Wednesday, the private ordination, and today, the public ordination. So first of all, they've been making an individual effort to keep up their practice, to keep up their meditation, their study and their friendships. And also they'll be playing an active part in the life of the order, of the Triratna Buddhist order, and reaching out to help others as well. And you too will be playing an active part in witnessing their public ordination. And there'll be many people around the world who'll be aware of what's happening today at Padmaloka. So before the ceremony, just to set the mood in which the ordination ceremony takes place, there'll be first of all a reading from the Dhammapada from Padmasakra, and this will be followed by a sevenfold puja, which is a Buddhist devotional practice. And you're very welcome to take part if you want to, or just sit and listen. And then we'll go on to the public ordination ceremony proper. So when you're ready, Padmasakra.
That enlightened one, whose sphere is endless, whose victory is irreversible, and after whose victory no defilements remain to be conquered. By what track will you lead him astray, the trackless one? That enlightened one, in whom there is not that ensnaring, entangling craving to lead anywhere in conditioned existence, and whose sphere is endless. By what track will you lead him astray, the trackless one? Those wise ones who are intent on absorption in higher meditative states, and who delight in the calm of renunciation, even the gods love them, those thoroughly enlightened and mindful ones. Difficult is the attainment of the human state. Difficult is the life of mortals. Difficult is the hearing of the real truth. Difficult is the appearance of the enlightened ones.
doing of anything evil, undertaking to do what is ethically skillful, and complete purification of the mind. This is the ordinance of the enlightened ones. Patient endurance is the best form of penance. Nirvana is the highest, say the enlightened ones. No true goer forth from the household life is he who injures another, nor is he a true ascetic who persecutes others. Not to speak evil, not to injure, to exercise restraint through the observance of the almsman's code of conduct, to be moderate in diet, to live alone, and to occupy oneself with higher mental states. This is the ordinance of the enlightened ones. Not even in a shower of money is satisfaction of desires to be found. Worldly pleasures are of little relish, indeed painful. Thus, understanding, the spiritually mature person takes no delight even in heavenly pleasures. The disciple of the fully, perfectly enlightened one takes delight only in the destruction of craving. Many people, out of fear, flee for refuge to sacred hills, woods, groves, trees, and shrines. In reality, this is not a safe refuge. In reality, this is not the best refuge. Fleeing to such a refuge, one is not released from all suffering. He who goes for refuge to the enlightened one, to the truth, and to the spiritual community, and who sees with perfect wisdom the four Aryan truths, namely suffering, the origin of suffering, the passing beyond suffering, and the Aryan eightfold way leading to the pacification of suffering. For him, this is a safe refuge. For him, this is the best refuge. Having gone to such a refuge, one is released from all suffering. Hard to come by is the ideal man. He is not born everywhere. Where such a wise one is born, that family grows happy. Happy is the appearance of the enlightened ones. Happy is the teaching of the real truth. Happy is the unity of the spiritual community. Happy is the spiritual effort of the united. He who reverences those worthy of reverence, whether enlightened ones or their disciples, who have transcended illusion and passed beyond grief and lamentation. He who reverences those who are of such a nature, who, moreover, are at peace and without cause for fear. His merit is not to be reckoned as such and such.
The 7-fold puja. Worship. With Mandava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With Mandava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the stages.
I pay honour to the princes of the stages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000,000,000,000 worlds.
In the 1,000,000,000,000 worlds.
So many times I make reverence.
Salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Siddhartha.
To the Siddhartha.
And to the excellent.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due. Going for refuge. This very day. I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise, in the host of the Bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge. Namo tassa.
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa. Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa. Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami. Tatyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Tatyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatyampi sangham saranam gacchami. Anatipata verani sekapram samadhyami. Adhyataka verani sekapram samadhyami. Amesu nechachara verani sekapram samadhyami. Musavada verani sekapram samadhyami. Surandaya Majaya Amaditana verani sekapram samadhyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With
with mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. The evil that I have heaped up,
the evil that I have heaped up,
through my ignorance and foolishness,
through my ignorance and foolishness,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
all that I acknowledge to the protectors,
all that I acknowledge to the protectors,
standing before them,
with
hands raised in reverence,
with hands raised in reverence,
and terrified of suffering. I pay salutations again and again.
I pay salutations again and again.
May the leaders receive this kindly.
May the leaders receive this kindly.
Just as it is with its many faults.
Just as it is with its many faults.
What is not good, O protectors?
What is not good, O protectors?
I shall not do again.
I shall not do again.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight.
I rejoice with delight.
In the good done by all beings.
In the good done by all beings.
Through which they obtain rest.
Through which they obtain rest.
With the end of suffering.
With the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings.
I rejoice in the release of beings.
From the sufferings of the realms of existence.
From the sufferings of the realms of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva.
And the Buddha.
And the Buddha.
Who are protectors.
Who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlighten.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlighten.
And the teaching.
And the teaching.
Those oceans that bring happiness to all beings.
Those oceans that bring happiness to all beings.
And are the abode of welfare.
And are the welfare of all beings.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering
in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter Nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter Nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life
in this world does not grow dark. When he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas, and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no colour, sound, smell,
taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even act of sensing. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance. No withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or ceasing pain or noble path to lead from pain. Not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in pranayama wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this pranayama wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharani, the radiant purest mantra, the pranayama paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Transference of merit and self. May the merit gained.
May the merit gained
In my acting thus.
in my acting thus
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existence, my possessions, and my merit in all three ways. I give up without regard to myself, for the benefit of all beings, just as the earth and other elements are serviceable in many ways to the infinite number of beings inhabiting limitless space. So may I become that which maintains all beings, situated throughout space, so long as all have not attained to peace.
Okay, so now we come to the public ordination ceremony proper. And throughout the public ordination ceremony, I'm going to ask each of the men getting ordained to come up in what we call natural seniority. So that's the eldest first. So it'll be the order will be Donny, and then Mark, and then John. Okay. So we're going to start with offerings, the traditional offerings of a flower, a candle, and incense, which represent their spiritual receptivity. So first of all, I'm going to ask Donny to come up and take the three traditional offerings. And now Mark. And John. Okay, now come some verses of purification of body, speech, and mind. And there's a lot of emphasis on purification in the ordination ceremony. And we have white cloths on the shrine, white candles, white flowers, and so on. And the Buddha said that it's only just like a pure white, clean cloth can take up the dye. It's only a purified mind that can take up the teachings of the Dharma. So some verses of purification. And could you repeat this together after me? Bowing before the Buddha, I purify my body. Chanting the sacred mantras, I purify my speech. Silently meditating, I purify my mind. Okay, and now comes a request. And you have to ask for the teachings. That's the tradition. And this signifies that this is your choice to get ordained, and you're making this choice as individuals. So I want you to repeat after me. Ahang Bante Ti Saranena Saha Dhammachari Samvara Silang Dhammang Yachami Anugaham Katva Silang Deta Me Bante. Together with the Dharmachari ordination vows, I may give them so I'm Bante for this ceremony. And then I say, Yamaham Vadami Tang Vadeta, which means repeat whatever I say. And you say, Alma Bante. Yes, Bante. And what you're going to repeat are the going for refuge and the taking of the 10 precepts. And you'll repeat these after me. And we start off with a salutation of the Buddha out of gratitude for him for starting the teachings and setting up the all rolling. So repeat after me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. And now comes a question. And the question is, are you fully and sincerely going for refuge? So I say, Tisaranena gamanang sampunang. And you say, Alma Bante. Yes, Bante. And now come the precepts. Panatipata. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Adinadana. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Kamesu. Vichachara. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Musavada. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Harisavachaya. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Sampapalapa. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Pisunavachaya. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Abhijaya. Veramani. Sekapada. Samadhyami. Vyapada. Veramini Sekapadam Samadhyami Mijaditya Veramini Sekapadam Samadhyami. So there's the 10 brahmachari precepts. What follows now, it's not the literal meaning of the precepts in English, but it's what you're really trying to do when you're trying to practice these precepts as an order member. So it's the inner spirit of the precepts, and these are in English. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With kindly communication, I purify my speech. With helpful communication, I purify my speech. With harmonious communication, I purify my speech. Abandoning covetousness for tranquility, I purify my mind. Changing hatred into compassion, I purify my mind. Transforming ignorance into wisdom, I purify my mind. Saranena saha brahmachari samvara silang dhammam sadhukam sarakitam tatva apamadena sampadeta. So that means having well observed the 3 refuges of precepts with mindfulness strive on. And as you know, with mindfulness strive on are the last words of the Buddha. And so if you stay constantly aware and you keep making an effort, you may make mistakes, you may fall down, but you'll get up again and you'll be assured of success. So it's just those 2 things you need to remember: to stay constantly aware and to keep making an effort. And in a way, that's a summary of the whole of the Buddha's teachings. So that's the core of the ceremony, but there's a few bits to remain, and some more purification. And I'm going to ask each of the ordinands to come forward and take a few drops of water, special water, onto the crown of their heads. And this is specially purified water, which has magical properties, but it only works if you practice the precepts. So first of all, ask Donnie to come forward. Kneel in front of me, please. Get all the paper out of the way first. Okay, so can you just, that's right, put your head up. That's it, Donnie, that's perfect. Good. Okay. That's it. And now Mike. It's usually easier with bald heads. Okay, put your head up. Go put it on the crown of your head. And it said the water will start at the top of the head and it will permeate all the way through the body, washing away all impurities. And now John. Perfect. Okay, and now comes the real sort of important bit. This is where they take the kesa, and as you can see, again, the kesa is pure white, and emblazoned on the kesa are the three jewels: the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the yellow jewel of the Buddha, the blue jewel of the Dharma, and the red jewel of the Sangha. And they're seated on a red lotus of the heart, and they're surrounded with flames. And what that means is that the spiritual life is something active, it's something dynamic, and the flames are burning up all impurities. So I'm going to ask each of the men to come forward and receive the kesa from me, starting with Dolly. And it's said that the moment that the kesa goes around their neck, they're fully and completely ordained. Okay. Mark. Been waiting a long time for this. Good job. It's such a lovely thing to be able to do. Okay, and what follows now are some acceptance verses. These verses are very important. We study them a lot on the ordination retreats. And, you know, most people who ordained in my generation couldn't even remember taking them. But they're actually very, very important. And because what they represent is they represent the true spirit in which ordination is taken and received. So I'm going to ask you to repeat together after me the four acceptance verses. With loyalty to my teachers,
With loyalty to my teachers,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
In harmony with friends and brethren,
In harmony with friends and brethren,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
For the attainment of enlightenment,
For the attainment of enlightenment,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
For the benefit of all beings,
For the benefit of all beings,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
Okay, so that's most of the ceremony over. There's a little detail, which is the names, the new names, which everybody, certainly on the retreat, has been waiting to hear. But before that, we'll have just a comfort break for 10 minutes. So we'll come back in 10 minutes and we'll conclude with the names. So take a little break now. Okay, so now we come to the telling of the name. And the name is very important. The name was given to these men by their private preceptor at their private ordination ceremony. And you could say it represents who they really are in their deepest nature. And whenever they hear their name, it will remind them of who they are. But it's also who they can become as well, because I think all these Buddhist names, there's always a lot to grow into. So you can become more and more who you are through the name. You become more and more fully the name that you embody. So we would have it in the usual order, but we're going to have it in reverse order because we've only got one private preceptor left. because we left Vidania and Jinavansa through illness, and so we've got recordings of them. But I think it's better we start with Jai Gupta, who's actually here, and he's going to tell us who John has become. So could you stand up, please, John and Jai Gupta?
So it feels like I'm the last private preceptor standing. But it's an honour. So John Bryan becomes Mani Kaya, who short Sanskrit words, Mani, the jewel, Kaya, body, jewel body, you could say. So it's a Sanskrit compound word that is translated as he who is the collection of jewels. This is a man with a quick mind, strong practice, a deep understanding of the Dharma, and a heartfelt connection with the Sangha. There's no mistaking the fact that the three jewels are central to Mani Kaya. He is a well-resourced practitioner with some very precious attributes. He's a clear communicator, a loyal friend, and he has an impressive ability to translate lofty ideals and abstract ideas into practical guidance. These are just a few of the precious jewels in his collection. Mani Kaya always strikes you as an upright man, and he looks after himself. He might have stepped back from the challenging Ironman triathlon events he used to participate in, but he still looks after himself. He looks after his physical health and is scrupulous in what he eats. He's certainly in touch with the body, and in fact, embodiment is a key part of his practice. You could in fact see him as a body of jewels, freely available to the order and to his friends in the Sangha. These are the blessings of Mani Kaya.
The mark has become.
Hero of kindness and compassion. Sangha literally means lion. Mark Chip becomes Daya Sangha, hero of kindness and compassion. Sangha literally means lion, by an analogy, hero or warrior, someone with courage and nobility of a lion. An ex-monk is a courageous man. He's been courageous in his leisure activities, like extreme mountain biking, sometimes to the alarm of those close to him. He's been courageous in the way he's lived his life, not choosing the prudent option that would give him security, but following a path that would let him use his talents and live a full life. He's been courageous in his present job as a prison chaplain, which he did right through the pandemic when many other chaplains took furlough because there was so much COVID in prisons. So that Mark ended up expanding his role in counselling non-Buddhist prisoners as well as Buddhists. Daya means kindness and compassion. And Mark has also been courageous. Compassion. And Mark has also been courageous in the way he's expressed his ready, deep concern for others. His response to the suffering in the refugee camps in Calais was to organise collections of essentials and then drive them to Calais in his van, in his own time, and at his own expense. Just the weekend before this retreat, after a grueling week of working in prisons, he spent his weekend travelling to the West Country to visit a convicted murderer serving a life sentence who he had made a connection with before his transfer, and then going on to visit a niece who was having a hard time. He is not a man who spares himself, and he exemplifies selflessness in action. So I give you Daya Singh, hero of kindness and compassion.
I may have to keep this reasonably brief. Because I'm not quite sure how well my voice will hold it. But I wanted to say something about Donnie and his new name. Donnie, when he first came to the Buddhist Centre in Glasgow, he was determined to have nothing to do with Buddhism. Partly what happened was the Buddha and Tara intervened in a way that he hadn't reckoned for or imagined, and he couldn't really deny, and that was partly what turned him around, I believe. Which just makes me wonder if he hadn't had contact with Buddhism before, but that's just a thought that goes through my mind. If when you ask people about Donnie and his qualities, they'll usually talk about how friendly he is. How consistently friendly he is. And they'll also commonly talk about how generous he is and how supportive he is and how unassuming he is, and how content, equanimous seems to be. And he's also very straightforward and unassuming, and his friendship is straightforward and unassuming. So the name that I chose for him was a straightforward name. It's Maitrika. And that means someone who has the capacity for friendship, someone who is friendly, someone who values friendship and connection. But of course, we sometimes translate Maitri as loving kindness. And I think Donnie's got a growing capacity for loving kindness and a sensitivity that has been blossoming as he practices, and is quite delightful, really. feel confident that he will continue to grow, develop his capacity for friendliness, his capacity for loving kindness, particularly as he's taken the Amitabha practice. And yeah, I think Donnie will just blossom, and I think it will be a delight to see. So I'd like to welcome him to the order. Yeah. So I give you Maitrika.
At the end of that, give three massive hearty salutes with well done or bravo, and then after that, we'll leave quietly, or I'll leave and you leave quietly after me, and we'll leave the three new order members just sit in here for a few minutes afterwards, just to contemplate what's happening, and then they come and join us for refreshments in the lounge. Good. So first of all, the blessings. Bhavati Sabba Mangalam Rakanti Sabba Devata Sabba Buddhanubhavena Sada Sati Bhavantu Te Bhavati Sabba Mangalam Rakanti Sabba Devata Sabba Dhammanubhavena Sada Sati Bhavantu Te Bhavati Sabba Mangalam Rakanti Sabba Devata Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sadasati Bhavantu Te.